Chosen one. Listen carefully. October 10th is not an ordinary day. On heaven's calendar, it is a moment marked specifically for you. The command for that day is clear. Do not speak. Do not react. Do not justify yourself. Hold your silence as a divine strategy, for that silence will become your hidden weapon to pass the test. There have been seasons in your life when you exhausted yourself trying to explain, to defend, to respond to hurtful words. But now, the Lord is calling you to a different path. On October 10th, your victory will not be found in your reply, but in your unwavering silence. Picture an eagle soaring through a storm. It does not scream to prove its strength. It spreads its wings and rides the wind in silence. And yet, every eye turns upward in awe. That is you silent, yet elevated, quiet, yet commanding fear in the darkness. It is written in the book of Lamentations, chapter 3, verse 26. It is good to wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. There is a holy strength hidden in quiet waiting. October 10th will be the day you step fully into that strength. Let me tell you about one chosen one I once knew. He was accused falsely, even within his own household. They whispered behind his back, trying to provoke his anger, hoping he would break down. But instead of defending himself, he chose silence. The days felt heavy, like carrying stones upon his chest. Yet in that silence, God moved. The lies exposed themselves, and he was lifted higher without speaking a single word. That is the kind of breakthrough you are walking into. Silence is not retreat. Silence is discipline. Silence is the sword hidden behind your back, making the enemy think you are weak, when in truth, heavenly armies surround you. On October 10th, when others expect your reaction, you will stand like a fortified gate, and that silence will echo louder than any speech you could give. Remember this, you do not keep silent out of fear. You keep silent out of obedience. You do not keep silent because you lack strength. You keep silent because you believe that God Himself is fighting for you, and He will. If this word is stirring in your spirit, act on it. Like this message to affirm you have heard heaven's whisper. Share it, so other warriors do not miss their command. Subscribe, so you remain aligned with every prophetic instruction ahead. And now, seal this with your obedience. Comment the number 1010 as your declaration on that day. I will remain silent. And understand this. Chosen one, silence is not emptiness. It is a vessel where God pours His wisdom. On October 10th, your silence will become a shield around you, a sanctuary where no accusation can penetrate. You may feel tension rise, but that tension is proof that heaven is reshaping you for something greater. Do not despise this instruction, for it is a divine filter. Many will miss it, but you will not. By holding your tongue, you will rise above the schemes of those who try to pull you down. Your silence will expose their motives more powerfully than your arguments ever could. So prepare yourself. Mark the day. Let your heart be steady, and let your lips remain closed. When you obey this call, you will see that the Lord Himself has already spoken for you. Chosen one, your tongue is small, yet it carries immeasurable power. It can create peace or unleash chaos. It can build bridges or burn them down. This is why heaven calls you to silence on October 10th, because one reckless word could dismantle what God has been carefully building in your life. Think of the many times you spoke too quickly, only to wish you could gather your words back. But once released, words cannot be retrieved. They are like arrows shot into the air, impossible to recall. They may hit their target or strike the innocent, but they always leave a mark. Silence is the shield that keeps those arrows from ever being fired. The apostle wrote in James, chapter 3, verse 5, "The tongue is small, yet it makes great boasts. Consider how a forest is set ablaze by a small spark. A single word can ignite disaster, but a moment of silence can prevent it." On October 10th, silence will protect you from yourself. It will keep you from igniting fires that rage beyond control. The enemy knows which lies provoke you, which accusations tempt you. But when you choose silence, you close the door to his game. You rob him of the fuel he craves. Imagine a soldier on the battlefield, sword in hand. The sword is sharp and deadly, but he does not swing at shadows. He waits. He measures. He knows that once unsheathed, it must be used with precision. In the same way, your words are not meant to be wasted on every provocation. Silence keeps your sword sheathed until heaven says, "It is time." The enemy thrives on reaction. He sets traps with words, hoping you will step into them with your own. But if you refuse to answer, he becomes powerless. Like a fisherman casting bait, he waits for a tug. Your silence leaves him empty-handed, his plan collapsing. Think of Jesus before false accusers. They hurled words like stones, but he remained silent. That silence was not weakness, it was thunder in disguise. By not answering, he allowed heaven to speak louder than earth. Your silence on October 10th mirrors that same divine strategy. There was once a young woman, constantly mocked for her faith. One day, they cornered her with cruel words, waiting to see her break. She said nothing. She smiled, kept working, walked away in peace. Months later, the same people sought her wisdom. Her silence had spoken louder than defense. Silence is not empty. It is like a seed buried underground. At first glance, nothing seems to happen, but beneath the soil, roots are stretching. Life is stirring. Breakthrough is forming. When you choose silence, you plant trust in God. In due season, that seed will bear fruit. The wise know silence is not avoidance, it is wisdom. It proves you are not tossed by emotion, but anchored in faith. October 10th is your moment to show you are no longer ruled by reaction but by revelation. So, understand this. Chosen one, silence is not a void. It is a fortress. It is a throne where you rule your own spirit. And in that quiet throne room, heaven prepares to release greater authority into your hands. And when that authority comes, it will not be fragile. It will be fire-tested, silence-forged, and heaven-approved evidence that you endured, obeyed, and proved worthy of greater glory. Chosen one. There is a reason heaven is pressing this instruction into your spirit. The silence of October 10th is not about passivity, it is about authority. To remain silent when provoked requires more strength than to shout when angry. The weak vent, the strong restrain, and you are being trained as the strong. Many around you will not understand. They will say, "You are avoiding conflict." They will think you are backing down. But they do not know the weight of the crown you carry. They do not know that silence is part of your preparation, that heaven is refining you in a way hidden from the eyes of men. Consider a blacksmith forging a sword. The fire burns hot. The hammer strikes heavy, yet the sword never cries out. It simply endures in silence until it is sharp enough to be wielded by a king. That is you. Every provocation, every false accusation, every trap you do not answer is shaping you into a weapon fit for the hand of God. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 39, verse 1. I said, I will watch my ways and keep my tongue from sin. I will put a muzzle on my mouth while in the presence of the wicked. Even David understood that silence was not weakness but wisdom, a shield against the schemes of the wicked. Let me bring this closer to your journey. Perhaps you've had a season where people twisted your words. You tried to explain, but the more you spoke, the more confused things became. You stayed awake at night, replaying conversations, wishing you had said less. That was training. The Spirit was teaching you to see the weight of words and the hidden authority in silence. Do not miss this truth. Silence is not merely the absence of noise, it is the sound of trust. When you refuse to respond, you are saying, God, I trust you to answer on my behalf. That is faith in action. That is surrender in its purest form. There was once a chosen one who lived in a hostile environment where every word was twisted. One day, his enemies surrounded him, pressing for him to defend himself. He looked at them, took a breath, and said nothing. Days later, one of those enemies stumbled in their own trap, while he stood vindicated without ever lifting his voice. His silence had allowed God to speak. So now, the call comes to you. On October 10th, you will be tempted to speak, to react, to explain. Resist it. Hold your silence. Let heaven have the final word. And if this resonates deeply, I want you to anchor it right now. Type these words in the comments. I choose silence. It is not just a phrase, it is your prophetic act of surrender. By writing it, you align your spirit with the discipline of David, the strength of Christ, and the authority heaven is building in you. When you declare it publicly, you are not just typing, you are stepping into agreement with a command that will shift atmospheres. Others will see it and be reminded that silence, when directed by heaven, is not weakness, it is warfare. And understand this clearly. When you type those words, you are planting a seed in the unseen. That seed says, I will not let my emotions rule me. It is a covenant, a reminder to yourself and a testimony before heaven that you are ready to walk in discipline and destiny. Chosen one. Silence is not only a shield, it is a weapon that terrifies darkness. The enemy thrives on noise, on arguments, on words spoken without thought. He feeds on conflict because confusion is his language. But when you refuse to speak, you cut off his supply, you deny him oxygen, and he cannot breathe in your atmosphere. There is a mystery hidden here. Darkness can predict the anger of men, but it cannot predict the silence of the chosen. When you keep still, the enemy grows restless. He waits for your reaction so he can twist it. But when no reaction comes, he is left powerless, frustrated, and exposed. Picture a battlefield at dawn. The opposing army expects the clash of swords, the thunder of hooves, the roar of men. Yet when the moment comes, they are met with silence. The stillness itself is a sound that unsettles their spirits. In that silence, fear begins to spread through their camp. That is what your silence does to the enemy. We find in the prophecy of Zephaniah, chapter 1, verse 7, "Be silent before the sovereign Lord, for the day of the Lord is near." Silence is not emptiness, it is reverence. It acknowledges that God is moving and you will not interfere with his work. Think of Moses before the Red Sea. The Israelites panicked, shouting in fear, their words rising in chaos. But Moses lifted his hand and commanded them to stand still. In that stillness, the sea parted. Deliverance did not come through noise, but through trust and silence. The same will be true for you. On October 10th, I recall the story of a young man who faced a storm of rumors. Every day, whispers surrounded him, accusations, lies, twisted truths. He felt the urge to defend himself, to shout back, to clear his name. Yet one night, in prayer, he heard a whisper, "Do not answer." He obeyed. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, those who spread lies grew silent themselves. His restraint had confused them. His silence had terrified them. And in the end, his character stood taller than any word he could have spoken. This is why silence disrupts darkness. It forces the enemy into the open, without your words to twist. He has nothing to use against you. Without your reaction, his bait lies untouched. And soon, everyone around will see his schemes without you ever lifting your voice. Silence is also a mirror. When you say nothing, people begin to hear the sound of their own words more clearly. Accusers grow uneasy because your silence forces them to confront themselves. The guilty cannot bear it. They crumble under the weight of their own noise, while you stand firm in quiet strength. So understand this. Chosen one. On October 10th, silence is not withdrawal. It is warfare. It is the roar of heaven hidden in stillness. It is the strategy of the sovereign Lord. And when you walk in it, darkness itself will tremble. And when darkness trembles, it retreats. Your silence becomes the signal that heaven's armies have taken position around you. The battle no longer belongs to your words, but to God's command. In those moments, your heart may still feel the weight of injustice, but silence will remind you that vindication is not yours to manufacture. It belongs to the Lord. So, take courage. On October 10th, every moment you remain silent will echo louder than accusations. Heaven will write down your obedience as a testimony of faith. Chosen one. Silence is not passive. It is the quiet sound of victory in motion. On October 10th, when you choose not to speak, you are stepping into a hidden river of power that flows beneath the surface of life. And make no mistake, darkness is terrified of still waters, because still waters run deep. There is a power that comes when you hold your tongue. Your silence becomes a wall the enemy cannot scale. It becomes a curtain that shields your heart while heaven rearranges the stage. The truth is this: many battles are not won with noise, but with stillness. Think of a harpist tuning their strings before a song. There is no music yet, only silence. But the silence holds expectation. The crowd leans in, knowing something beautiful is about to begin. That is what your silence on October 10th will be. It is the pause before the melody, the stillness before the breakthrough, The Spirit spoke through the prophet Habakkuk. Chapter 2, verse 20. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth be silent before him. Silence is reverence. Silence is worship. Silence is saying, Lord, I trust your presence more than my own voice. And yet, silence does more than shield. It magnifies. When you say nothing, God's voice is amplified. When you step back, his hand is seen more clearly. Your restraint allows heaven to display its strength. This is why silence terrifies darkness, because silence makes room for God to roar. There was once a chosen one who endured seasons of rejection. No matter what she said, her words were twisted. So, one day, she stopped defending herself. She sat in silence and prayed. At first, people thought she had no answer, no strength. But over time, they saw her peace, her quiet glow. It was her silence that preached louder than any sermon. In the end, even those who mocked her came to her for counsel. Your silence is not empty, it is a canvas. Heaven will paint upon it, and the world will marvel at what appears. Every time you resist the urge to answer back, you give heaven more room to write your story. And here is where I want to leave something on your heart. If this word is breathing life into you, do not let it vanish like mist. Imagine your response not as a click, but as lighting a candle in the night. When you press like, it is not for numbers. It is as if you are saying, Yes, Lord, I stand in this light. And when you share, you are not just spreading a video, you are passing the flame, giving another weary soul a lantern to see their path. And when you subscribe, it is not about joining a list, it is about choosing to sit at the table where bread is broken fresh each day. These actions are not demands, they are invitations, ways for you to say, I align with heaven's rhythm. Just as silence is a voluntary offering, so too are these choices. They are beautiful when done freely, from the heart. So let your response flow like worship, natural and unforced, because every act of agreement, whether in silence or in a simple click, is a testimony that you are listening, that you are awake, that you are ready for what heaven has prepared. Chosen one. Silence is the foundation, but obedience gives it shape. October 10th is not simply a call to remain quiet. It is a divine rehearsal, training your spirit for battles ahead. By keeping your tongue still, you are learning to master not only your words, but also your impulses, your emotions, your very breath. The enemy is not afraid of noise, he is afraid of discipline. He is afraid of a soul that can remain unmoved when provoked, a spirit that refuses to lash out when cornered. That kind of obedience is rare, and it is powerful. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. This is not a suggestion. It is a command. It is heaven's way of saying, stay silent, and I will step in. Hold your peace, and I will hold your future. There was once a chosen one who learned this the hard way. Surrounded by betrayal, he felt the urge to speak, to justify, to defend. But every time he did, it only made things worse. Until one day, exhausted, he obeyed the whisper, say nothing. Days turned into weeks, and suddenly, those who accused him began to unravel. Their words tangled, their stories contradicted, and their lies collapsed under their own weight. His silence had summoned heaven's justice. That same justice waits for you. October 10th is not only a test, it is a marking. Heaven is watching. Angels are writing. Every time you resist the urge to answer back, you are proving that you are no longer ruled by flesh but led by spirit. And when heaven sees that, new authority is released into your life. Silence also breaks cycles. Think of family patterns where anger was the first response, where words sharpened like knives left scars that never healed. When you choose silence, you are cutting off those curses. You are saying, "This pattern ends with me." In that single act of restraint, you shift the inheritance of generations. Imagine yourself as a mountain. Winds can howl, storms can rage, lightning can strike, but the mountain does not speak back. It stands firm. That is who you are called to be, unmoved, unshaken, clothed in silence that speaks louder than storms. But here is something deeper. Silence is not just defense, it is prophecy. By staying silent, you are declaring to unseen realms, "My God is bigger than this battle." Your silence becomes a sermon without words, a declaration that resonates in the spirit realm far louder than human speech. And now, chosen one, type the number 777 inches, the comments. This is the number of divine completion. By writing it, you declare, what God begins in silence, He will finish in glory. So, let your silence become worship. Let your silence become your seed. And let your obedience echo through the unseen, shaking what no words could shake, opening what no explanation could open. And when you write it, do not see it as routine. See it as a covenant act, a seed sown into eternity. Heaven reads what your hand releases. This is not about numbers on a screen. It is about agreement with the Word of God, about saying with faith, "I choose His way above mine." End of quote. So let the number stand as a banner. On October 10th, may heaven look and say, "This one obeyed in silence." And, chosen one, every tear you have shed in silence is not wasted. Heaven has collected them, storing them as evidence of your endurance. You may think no one saw you cry, that your quiet weeping in the night dissolved into the dark. But nothing escapes the eyes of the one who called you. Each tear is a seed, and every seed carries a harvest. There is power in unspoken pain. The world teaches that strength is loud. That power must be proven through words and defense. But God works differently. His greatest victories are often wrapped in silence. When you restrain your voice, your suffering becomes an offering. The silence of your sorrow is heard more clearly in the courts of heaven than the shouts of your enemies on earth. As written in the book of Psalms, chapter 56, verse 8, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book. Nothing slips past His memory. Every tear is a testimony." Let me tell you about a chosen one who bore grief silently. She was surrounded by people who dismissed her struggles, who called her fragile or weak. At night, she wept quietly, holding her pillow tight, whispering her pain only to heaven. It seemed like nothing changed. Yet slowly, unseen roots of resilience grew in her spirit. Months later, when storms came to those around her, she stood unshaken. They marveled. asking where her strength came from. She knew it was built in the nights of silence, in the tears that became prayers. This is your story. 2. The tears you shed were not wasted. They were watering the soil of your destiny. Just as rain softens the earth to prepare it for growth, so your tears have prepared your heart for increase. October 10th is not only a call to silence, it is a reminder that your silence has already been powerful, already been fruitful, even when you could not see it. Imagine a garden in the early morning. Dew clings to every leaf, sparkling like jewels in the rising light. To the untrained eye, it is only water, but to the gardener, it is life. Your tears are heaven's dew. They shine before God as proof that even in sorrow, you chose Him. And understand this: silence during sorrow does not mean God is absent. On the contrary, He is closest when your words fail. He walks beside you in the valley of shadows, speaking strength through the quiet. Your silence creates space for His presence to comfort you. The enemy wanted your tears to drown you, but heaven turned them into rivers of life. The enemy wanted your silence to break you, but heaven turned it into a shield. The enemy wanted your loneliness to destroy you, but heaven turned it into intimacy with God. So, lift your head. Chosen one, do not despise the tears you cried, for they were not signs of defeat, but signs of faith. They were the proof that even in your lowest moments, you trusted the one who sees in secret. And now, that same God will reward you openly. Every silent night you endured has been recorded. Every tear you thought lost has been stored. Every pain you carried alone has been witnessed. And on the day of silence, October 10th, heaven will remember them all, not as wounds, but as testimonies. Your silence terrified darkness, but your tears move heaven. Together, they tell the story of a soul that refused to give up, a spirit that chose God above explanation, a heart that endured in secret so it could shine in the open. Chosen one, understand this: October 10th is not a random day circled on a calendar. It is a divine appointment, a sacred checkpoint where heaven separates the faithful from the careless. Silence on that day is not merely discipline, it is evidence. Evidence that you are aligned, that you are chosen, that you can be trusted with more. There are days in history when God drew a line in the sand, days when obedience revealed destiny. The flood in Noah's time, the Exodus under Moses, the walls of Jericho under Joshua, all were moments of divine separation. October 10th carries that same weight for you. It is a day where heaven watches closely, where silence will set you apart. The Apostle Paul wrote in the letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 5, "Therefore judge nothing before the appointed time. Wait until the Lord comes. He will bring to light what is hidden in darkness and will expose the motives of the heart. Silence becomes your shield until God Himself brings truth to the surface." This is why your silence on that day is so crucial. When you do not respond, you give heaven room to reveal what is hidden. It may not happen instantly, but the process begins. Words spoken carelessly might delay it, but silence accelerates it. Think of the refining fire. Gold is not proven by appearance, it is proven in the furnace. When placed in fire, impurities rise to the top. In the same way, October 10th will reveal what is inside of you. Will you let words of anger rise, or will you remain silent, letting God skim away the dross? There was once a chosen one who faced such a day, surrounded by gossip, provoked by whispers. He felt the fire inside. Every word thrown at him was meant to spark a reaction, but he remembered the instruction to stay quiet. Hours felt like days. Yet he endured. Weeks later, truth surfaced without him speaking. Those who mocked him bowed their heads in shame. He had passed the test, and his silence marked his separation. Separation is never easy. It means you will feel different. It means others will not understand why you are quiet when they expect you to fight back. But silence on October 10th is your declaration that you belong to heaven's rhythm, not the rhythm of the world. Imagine two rivers flowing side by side. One is muddy, rushing, loud, tossing debris. The other is clear, steady, calm, reflecting the sky. That is what happens when you stay silent. You step out of the muddy current of chaos and into the clear stream of God's order. And make no mistake, the enemy will notice. He will see your silence and know you have chosen separation. He will see your restraint and realize you no longer dance to his tune. That awareness terrifies him, because he knows silence is proof you are under higher authority. So mark the day. Hold your silence. Let your stillness testify that you are not ordinary, that you are set apart. October 10th is more than a test. It is a coronation of trust. Heaven is not only observing, heaven is recording, confirming, and releasing new levels of authority for those who remain faithful. And when that authority is released, it will not be fragile. It will be tested, refined, and unshakable. October 10th will stand as the proof that silence crowned you, and heaven trusted you with greater weight of glory. Chosen one. Silence is not only about what you hold back, it is about what you protect. October 10th will test whether you can guard the treasures God has placed within you. Not every thought deserves to be spoken. Not every truth is ready to be revealed. Some things grow best in silence. Think of seeds hidden in the earth. No one sees them. No one applauds them. Yet beneath the soil, transformation is taking place. If the soil were broken too soon, the seed would die before its time. Your words are like that seed. If spoken too early, they can be crushed by misunderstanding. But if kept in silence, they will sprout in season, unstoppable. The ancient words recorded in Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 7, declare, a time to tear, a time to mend, a time to be silent, a time to speak. October 10th has been marked as your time to be silent. Do not confuse delay with denial. God is preserving you for the right moment. There was a chosen one who carried dreams larger than his surroundings. Every time he shared them, jealousy grew. He was mocked, ridiculed, dismissed. One day, he stopped telling people. He wrote his dreams in a journal, spoke them only in prayer, and kept them close to his chest. Years later, those very dreams became reality, and the same people who mocked him came to honor him. His silence had protected his promise. Understand this. Silence is not suppression, it is strategy. When you hold back words, you are not burying them to die, you are planting them to grow. The enemy wants you to speak prematurely, to expose your treasures before they are ready. But heaven says, wait, protect what I've placed in you. Imagine carrying a flame in the wind. If you expose it recklessly, it will be extinguished. But if you shield it with your hands, even in silence, it will burn until it is strong enough to light the way. Your silence is the shield for that flame. On October 10th, every restrained word will be an act of protection. Every moment you choose, silence will be heaven's confirmation that you can be trusted with greater revelation. Some promises are too holy for casual speech. They require silence, reverence, and trust. Now, if this word is stirring in your spirit, anchor it with a declaration. Type these words in the comments. Silence is strength. It is simple, yet it seals the truth. It is your way of saying, I will guard what God has given me, even when others do not understand. End 1. Your comment becomes a witness, both to yourself and to heaven, that you have chosen discipline over impulse, timing over haste, silence over noise, and in that choice, your future will be preserved. And when you write those words, do not take them lightly. You are engraving a truth into your own heart. Silence is strength, becomes more than a comment. It becomes a standard you choose to live by. A reminder, every time your tongue wants to break free. This declaration tells heaven and earth that your silence is not weakness, not fear, not avoidance. It is strength drawn from the Spirit. Strength anchored in trust. Strength that confuses the enemy. By choosing those words, you step into a deeper awareness that silence itself is sacred warfare. Chosen one. Silence is more than the absence of sound. On October 10th, your silence will carry a prophetic weight. It will echo through generations, breaking patterns that words alone could never break. The power of restraint does not stop with you. It flows into your family line, rewriting stories that were written in pain. Think of a river that has always overflowed in one direction, year after year. The waters flood the same fields, leaving behind destruction. Then one day, a new channel is carved, redirecting the waters into a fruitful valley. That is what your silence does. It redirects generational currents. Where words of anger once flowed, a stream of peace now begins. Scripture says in the book of Proverbs, chapter 15, verse 1, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Silence on October 10th is the gentlest answer of all. It does not stir anger, it dissolves it. I remember a chosen one who came from a home filled with conflict. Every meal was an argument. Every gathering was a battlefield. For years, he believed that raising his voice was the only way to survive. But then, one day, he learned the discipline of silence. Instead of arguing back, he listened. Instead of fueling the fire, he withheld his words. At first, it felt unnatural, but slowly, the atmosphere changed. His silence became contagious. Others in the family began to soften. The shouting lessened. Healing crept into a place that once knew only chaos. His silence broke the cycle. That is the kind of breakthrough waiting for you. On October 10th, when you choose not to respond, you are not only protecting yourself, you are breaking curses spoken over your bloodline. The silence of one chosen soul can free generations to come. Silence is like a thread woven into a tapestry. You may not notice it at first, but without it, the design would unravel. Every moment, you hold your peace. You add a stitch of strength into the story of your family. Over time, Those stitches form a masterpiece that reflects the glory of God. Or imagine a lighthouse standing on a stormy shore. It does not shout into the wind. It does not argue with the waves. It simply shines. Your silence will be like that lighthouse, steady, unshaken, guiding those around you without ever needing to raise a word. And here is something I want you to hold in your heart. If this word resonates deeply, let your response not be mechanical but meaningful. When you press like, think of it as planting a seed in the soil of your spirit, saying, I choose peace over chaos. End of 4. When you share, picture yourself carrying a torch into another person's night. You are not spreading content, you are passing light, giving someone else the chance to walk a little safer on their journey. And when you subscribe, do not see it as joining a list. See it as taking a seat at a table where the bread is always fresh, where living water is always poured, where you are never left hungry. These actions are not obligations, they are invitations. They are gentle ways to say, I align with this flow of heaven. Just as silence is a voluntary gift, so too is your response. Both are beautiful when offered freely. So let your silence speak on October 10th. And let your heart respond here, in whatever way feels right. Because in every choice, whether holding your tongue or lifting your hand, you are declaring, I belong to a higher kingdom, and I choose its ways. Chosen one. You must realize that the weight of destiny is not measured in titles, applause, or recognition. It is measured in restraint, in patience, in the ability to carry what others cannot see. October 10th is not about silence for a moment. It is about training your soul to carry silence as a mantle, as proof of maturity. Destiny always feels heavier than you expect. It does not rest lightly on the shoulders of the chosen. It presses. It stretches. It demands discipline. That is why silence matters so much. Words may relieve you for a moment, but silence strengthens you for a lifetime. The Apostle wrote in the letter to the Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 11, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. Silence is discipline. Silence is training. And silence will bring peace. Imagine carrying a crown not made of gold, but of fire. It glows. It blazes. But it also burns if handled carelessly. You cannot balance such a crown with hurried movements or careless gestures. You must walk slowly, carefully, in silence. That is what it feels like to carry destiny. It requires stillness, because stillness ensures you do not drop what heaven has placed on your head. There was a chosen one who struggled with this weight. Every time conflict came, he wanted to speak, to release the burden of holding it in. But when he gave in to words, he found the burden only grew heavier. One day, he tried something different. He stayed silent. It was uncomfortable. It was painful. Yet, afterward, he felt lighter. For the first time, he realized silence was not a cage, it was a crown. Carrying destiny also means walking alone at times. Silence separates you, because not everyone will understand why you do not respond, why you do not defend yourself, why you choose peace instead of argument. But remember, destiny is never carried in crowds. It is always born in solitude, and silence creates that sacred solitude. a space where God can strengthen you without the noise of others. Picture a sculptor chiseling away at marble. Each strike is deliberate. Each silence between strikes is essential. Without the pauses, the stone would crack. Without restraint, the masterpiece would be ruined. Your destiny is being sculpted the same way. The silences between life's blows are shaping you into something glorious. Do not despise this weight. Do not run from it. The heaviness you feel is evidence that heaven trusts you with responsibility, and silence on October 10th will be one more proof that you can carry it well. When others demand explanations, your silence will show them you are living for something higher. When enemies hurl accusations, your silence will reveal that your validation comes from above. When even your own heart wants to shout, your silence will whisper to heaven, "I am ready for the wait." And chosen one. Silence is not the absence of destiny, it is the evidence of it. The heavier your calling, the quieter your spirit must become. Let October 10th be a rehearsal for the life you are stepping into, a life where silence speaks, where stillness protects, and where restraint carries the weight of your crown. And when that crown rests upon you, it will shine brighter, because you learned to bear it in silence. The glow others see will be forged from moments where you said nothing but trusted everything. So let October 10th remind you, silence is not emptiness. It is endurance wrapped in grace, a mark that you are carrying something too holy to be wasted on noise. Chosen one. There are moments when heaven leans closer, moments when your obedience echoes beyond the present. October 10th will be one of those moments. Your silence that day will not vanish into the air. It will be written, remembered, and rewarded. The prophet Jeremiah spoke, chapter 6, verse 16. Stand at the crossroads and look. Ask for the ancient paths. Ask where the good way is, and walk in it, and you will find rest for your souls. On October 10th, silence will be your ancient path, your chosen way. It will lead you into rest and protection. Picture a crossroads at night. One road is crowded with noise, voices shouting, arguments raging. Chaos is spilling over. The other is quiet, still, illuminated only by moonlight. It may look less impressive, less alive, but that road leads to peace. Silence is that second road. It is not popular, but it is powerful. I remember a chosen one who stood at such a crossroads, betrayed by friends, attacked by words. He wanted to speak, to defend himself, but he chose silence instead. In time, God revealed the truth without his help. Those who betrayed him crumbled, and he stood vindicated. His silence had become his testimony. Silence also creates alignment. When you refuse to argue, you align your heart with heaven's rhythm. When you choose not to explain, you give space for God's voice to rise above the noise. When you close your mouth, you open your ears to what the Spirit is saying. Imagine a still lake. When the surface is calm, it reflects the sky perfectly, but when disturbed by ripples, the reflection is lost. Your silence is that calm surface, reflecting heaven clearly into your life. Without it, the noise of this world distorts what God is showing you. Now, chosen one, here is how you can seal this moment. Type the number 444 inches, the comments. This is the number of stability, foundation, and alignment. By writing it, you declare, "My silence is building my foundation. My restraint is securing my future." Angel. This is not superstition, it is a prophetic act. It is you saying, "I choose the ancient path. I choose stability over chaos. I choose to be aligned with heaven's will." Angel. So let your silence on October 10th be more than discipline. Let it be your declaration, your crossroads choice, your living testimony. And let the number you write stand as a banner over your life. I have chosen silence, and heaven has chosen me. And when you type 444, remember that you are not just pressing keys, you are carving a truth into eternity. Numbers in the hands of the chosen are not empty symbols. They become banners that angels recognize. They testify. This one stands firm. This one is aligned. And your declaration is not about visibility to people, it is about visibility to heaven. Every time you choose silence, every time you write what heaven instructs, it is recorded. Heaven does not forget even the smallest act of obedience. October 10th will not disappear into history, it will echo in the spirit. Think of a cornerstone placed in the foundation of a building. It is unseen, buried beneath walls and rooms, yet the entire structure rests upon it. That is what your silence will be, a cornerstone. The world may not notice, but heaven builds upon it. And the number you write becomes the stone's inscription, sealing it forever. So do not dismiss this moment. It may feel small now, but small choices shape eternal destiny. Your silence, your obedience, your prophetic act, all combine to declare, you are not moved by noise. You are anchored by truth. October 10th will be the day. Heaven sees your foundation strengthened and your path secured. Chosen one. The silence you keep will not go unchallenged. Understand this. When you refuse to give the enemy your words, he will try to provoke you with storms, sudden disruptions, and fiery accusations. The more you resist, the harder he pushes. This is not coincidence, it is evidence. Silence exposes hidden enemies, and once they are exposed, they grow desperate. The ancient words in the book of Nahum, chapter 1, verse 7 remind us, the Lord is good, a refuge in times of trouble. He cares for those who trust in him. When the counterattacks come, remember that your silence is not isolation. It is refuge. You are not abandoned in the storm. You are shielded within it. Think of a candle burning in a dark room. When the flame is small, the shadows seem overwhelming. But the darker the room becomes, the brighter the flame appears. That is what your silence will do. It may feel fragile, but in the midst of accusation, it shines brighter than you realize. There was once a chosen one who faced this fiery counterattack. After choosing silence, she thought peace would follow. Instead, accusations multiplied. Whispers turned to shouts, and even those close to her seemed to turn away. She wondered if her silence was weakness. Yet in prayer, she realized the enemy rages loudest when he knows he has already lost. Her silence became the net that caught every lie. And eventually, truth emerged without her ever speaking. This is how darkness works. It will press against your silence, hoping you will break. But the pressure is proof that your silence is working, proof that your restraint is unraveling schemes. The enemy cannot fight what he cannot hear. And when you refuse to answer, he becomes powerless. Imagine an ocean wave crashing against a cliff. The wave roars. The spray rises high, but the cliff does not move. Again and again, the wave attacks, and again, the cliff remains. That is who you are in silence, a cliff unshaken by waves. The roar of accusations may sound fierce, but it will pass, leaving you standing strong. And remember, counterattacks are not punishments, they are confirmations. They confirm that you have been marked, that your silence has pierced the darkness. The enemy does not waste his weapons on those who pose no threat. If the storm rises, it is because your obedience has already shaken his camp. Do not be surprised if people misunderstand you. Do not be startled if your name is twisted or your intentions questioned. These are signs of separation. Silence forces truth into the open, and until it appears, falsehood often shouts louder. But let the shouting rage. Heaven is already recording the outcome. Your silence is not fragile, it is fireproof. It will outlast the flames of accusation, outshine the lies, and outlive the storm. October 10th may bring pressure, but it will also bring proof. Proof that you belong to the Lord. Proof that you can be trusted. Proof that silence has become your strength. So prepare yourself. Chosen one, the fiery counterattack may come, but do not fear. Stand firm in silence, and let heaven handle the noise. For when the fire burns out, you will still be standing, crowned not by your words, but by your obedience. And in that obedience, you will discover a deeper truth. Silence is not your weakness, but your shield. Not your retreat, but your crown. The very mark of heaven's trust. Chosen one. There are treasures that can only be unlocked through silence. October 10th is not just about what you avoid saying. It is about what heaven will entrust to you because you remained still. Words can close doors just as easily as they open them. But silence, spirit-led silence, has the power to swing open gates that have been shut for years. As written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 30, verse 15, "In quietness and trust is your strength." This is not poetic language, it is a key. Quietness is not emptiness, it is strength. And trust is not passivity, it is movement in the spirit. Together, they open doors no one can close. Think of Joseph, forgotten in prison, though he carried dreams of greatness. He did not shout his innocence day after day. He did not protest endlessly to those who misunderstood him. Instead, he waited in silence until God himself caused Pharaoh to call his name. In one moment, the door opened, and the man who was silent in the dungeon became the ruler in the palace. Silence had unlocked what words could never achieve. There was once a chosen one in our time who lived this principle. She faced closed doors everywhere she turned, job opportunities denied, relationships broken, prayers unanswered. In frustration, she wanted to demand answers from everyone around her. But then she chose silence. She stopped explaining herself, stopped begging for understanding, and simply waited. Months later, an unexpected door opened that surpassed everyone she had tried to force. She looked back and realized, if she had spoken too soon, she might have walked through the wrong door. Silence is not stagnation. It is strategy. It is the posture of waiting for the right key instead of forcing the wrong lock. October 10th is your rehearsal of this truth. As you keep silent, you will sense heaven preparing a door that no argument, no defense, no explanation could ever touch. Picture a library filled with locked rooms. Some try to break them open with noise, with demand, with insistence, but the wise librarian carries the key, and only those who wait receive access. God is that wise keeper. Your silence is the patience that earns you the key. And when the right door opens, you will see why silence was required. Words might have tied you to the wrong people, the wrong opportunities, the wrong paths. But silence keeps you free, free to walk into what is truly yours, free to embrace what heaven reserved only for the chosen. Do not despise the waiting. Waiting in silence is not wasted time, it is preparation. Just as seeds sprout quietly underground before they burst into the light, so too your destiny is germinating beneath the soil of your silence. What looks like delay is really development. So when October 10th arrives, remember this: every moment you remain silent is like turning the invisible key. Every restrained word is a step closer to the door opening. And when it swings wide, it will not be because of what you said, but because of what you chose not to say. Chosen one, your silence is unlocking hidden reward. Let others shout, argue, or explain. You, instead, will stand still, and the doors heaven reserved for you will open in their appointed time. And when those doors open, they will not creak, they will burst wide. Undeniable, unstoppable. Every closed gate you once stared at in frustration will become a testimony that silence was the master key in your hand. Sorrehoisekiatli. Chosen one, your silence was never wasted, it was an investment, and the return is now approaching in glory. Chosen one, there are moments when the weight of silence feels almost unbearable, yet it is in those very moments that heaven crowns you. October 10th will not be a day of emptiness, it will be a day of coronation. Each second you keep silent will be as if a jewel is being placed into your crown, unseen by men, but noticed by heaven. Silence is never wasted. It is a throne where self-control sits, a garden where patience grows, and a temple where God himself dwells. Darkness trembles not when you speak, but when you refuse to, because silence is proof that your spirit has chosen mastery over chaos. The Apostle Paul reminds us in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 2, verse 12, "If we endure, we will also reign with him." Your silence is endurance, and endurance is the pathway to reigning. I once knew a chosen one who endured years of mockery. People twisted his words, baited him into arguments, and delighted when he lost control. But then he stopped giving them his voice. His silence unsettled them. His silence exposed them. His silence crowned him with respect he never earned through arguments. Later, when promotion came, even his enemies admitted he had something greater within him. That is the power of enduring in silence. Imagine a field of wheat swaying in the wind. The stalks do not shout, yet their quiet movement speaks of harvest on the way. Your silence is like that field. It whispers of blessing, even when the world hears nothing. Or picture a crown being forged in fire. It does not clang or rattle, but in silence, it takes shape. October 10th will be that forging for you. And here, I want to pause and draw you into something deeper. If this word is breathing in your spirit, Let your response not feel mechanical, but sacred. Think of pressing like not as tapping a screen, but as placing a stone on the altar, saying, "Here I build a testimony." And when you share, do not see it as spreading content. See it as passing a cup of living water to someone thirsty in the desert, saying, "Drink, and you too will endure." And when you subscribe, do not think of joining a channel. Think of it as stepping into a circle of light, where others chosen like you gather, where oil is poured fresh, and where your lamp will never run dry. Finally, let your heart write words that align with heaven. In the comments, type, "I choose my crown," not as a ritual, but as a declaration. Each letter you write is like fastening another jewel into your unseen crown. The crown here is not mere ornament, it is the mark of endurance, the symbol of victory, the testimony that you did not let the noise of this world strip you of your discipline. It tells heaven, "I am ready. I will endure. I will reign." Do these things not out of duty, but out of desire, because every act of agreement, whether in silence or in a simple gesture of response, becomes part of your coronation. You are not just surviving October 10th, you are being crowned by it. So walk into that day with quiet strength. Hold your silence as your scepter. Let your obedience be your robe. And when heaven looks upon you, it will see not a victim of silence, but a ruler crowned by it, chosen one. The silence you carry is not simply for survival, it is preparation for revelation. October 10th is not the end of something, but the threshold into unveiling. When you hold your peace, heaven begins to whisper secrets. Things hidden in shadow start to come into light, not by your arguments, but by God's timing. The Apostle Paul wrote in his letter to the Romans, chapter 8, verse 18, "I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory to be revealed in us." This is your promise. Silence will not end in emptiness, but in unveiling glory. Think of the morning before sunrise. The world seems quiet, still, as if nothing is happening. But in that silence, the first rays of light are preparing to break over the horizon. October 10th is your sunrise. The silence will not last forever. It is the quiet before revelation. There was a chosen one who endured long seasons of waiting. He prayed, but answers were delayed. He obeyed, but recognition never came. Friends told him to speak louder, to demand attention, to force doors open, but he stayed silent. Years later, the breakthrough came suddenly, a revelation that not only blessed him, but lifted many others. He understood then, silence was not denial, it was divine timing. This is the unveiling that silence prepares. When you stop speaking, you start seeing. Noise distract, but silence sharpens vision. On October 10th, you will notice details you missed before. You will sense nudges of the Spirit you once overlooked. The veil will thin, and what was hidden will start to show. Picture a painter working in secret. For months, the canvas is covered, hidden under cloth. Visitors wonder if anything is happening. They doubt. They whisper. But then, at the appointed moment, the cover is lifted, and the masterpiece leaves them speechless. That is what silence will do for you. Behind the cover, heaven is painting. Soon, the unveiling will come. Revelation is not always about new information, it is often about new clarity. You may see the same circumstances, but with fresh eyes. Where you once saw opposition, you will see opportunity. Where you once saw betrayal, you will see redirection. Silence clears the lens, so that the truth can shine through. And do not be surprised if, in the days following October 10th, dreams grow sharper, prayers feel heavier, and scriptures seem to glow with meaning you never noticed before. These are signs of unveiling. The silence you kept created space for God's voice to be amplified. Understand this: revelation is not given to the careless. It is entrusted to those who can carry it without distortion. Your silence proves that you can be trusted. If you can keep quiet when provoked, you can also keep wisdom when revealed. Heaven does not waste secrets on loose tongues. Your silence qualifies you for deeper unveiling. So walk into October 10th with reverence. Each moment of silence is not wasted. It is weaving revelation into your spirit. Trust that when the time comes, what has been hidden will be revealed, not by your defense, not by your explanation, but by God's perfect unveiling. Chosen one, hold your silence with expectation, because on the other side of quietness, there is revelation waiting to crown you with clarity, wisdom, and glory. Chosen one. Silence is more than an act of restraint. It is a seal, a covenant, a mark upon your destiny. October 10th will not just pass like any other day. It will stand as a testimony in heaven's record. On that day, when you keep silent, you are signing your name on a scroll that declares, "This one can be trusted." I'll do. The prophet Isaiah declared, chapter 32, verse 17, "The fruit of righteousness will be peace. Its effect will be quietness and confidence forever." Peace is not born from endless explanations. Confidence does not rise from constant defense. They grow out of silence, from choosing quietness when chaos tempts you to speak. Think of a sealed letter. Its contents remain hidden, safe, and untouched until the appointed time. Silence is your seal. It keeps your destiny from being tampered with. It guards your promises from being spoiled by premature words. October 10th is the day you press that seal firmly upon your life, ensuring that what belongs to you will reach its destination unharmed. There was once a chosen one who always rushed to explain himself. Whenever he was misunderstood, he defended. Whenever accused, he justified. But over time, he realized his explanations made things worse. His words were like opening the seal before the letter was delivered. Everything spilled out too soon. When he finally learned silence, his life changed. People began to respect him. Heaven entrusted him with more. And he discovered that quietness is a mark of maturity. Silence is not only protection, it is also proclamation. It tells the world, you are not moved by noise. It tells the enemy, you are not ruled by provocation. And it tells heaven, you are ready for more. On October 10th, your silence will preach a sermon louder than your words ever could. Picture a mountain peak covered in snow. It does not move. It does not speak. Yet it commands awe. Pilgrims travel far just to behold it. Your silence is like that mountain. It speaks by not speaking. It inspires without effort. It testifies without explanation. Understand this. Silence is not the end of your story. It is the seal that protects the next chapter. When you keep quiet, you are not erasing yourself, you are preserving what God is writing. The ink of destiny dries best in silence. So when October 10th arrives, remember that every unspoken word is like wax melted and pressed upon your scroll. Every moment of restraint is another mark of authenticity. And when the seal is complete, heaven itself will testify, you are crowned in silence, set apart by stillness, entrusted with glory, chosen one. Your journey through silence has not been wasted. It has shaped you, refined you, and proved you. And now, October 10th will stand as a memorial stone in your life, the day silence became your crown, your covenant, and your seal forever. And never forget, silence is not emptiness. It is language only heaven fully understands. In that stillness, angels hear your trust, and demons tremble at your discipline. Your silence speaks volumes. Let October 10th remain as a milestone in your journey. Whenever you face storms again, look back and remember, you already proved you could hold your peace. That memory will strengthen you for future battles. And in the years ahead, your silence will become a legacy. Others will watch, learn, and follow, realizing that true strength is not in shouting, but in trusting, chosen one. Before you leave this message, pause for a moment. What you have heard has not been ordinary words. It has been a prophetic map, a divina instruction, and a sacred reminder that silence itself is a crown. October 10th is not far away, and the seed planted in your heart today must be watered if it is to grow. And so, I ask you to respond not as routine, but as a sacred act. When you press like, do not see it as a click, see it as laying a stone upon an altar, saying, this truth belongs to me, I receive it. End quote. When you share, picture yourself carrying a torch into someone else's darkness. Your silence may be your own crown, but your obedience in sharing might awaken another chosen one who is standing at the edge of giving up. And when you subscribe, do not imagine signing a list. Imagine stepping into a circle of light where words of life continue to flow, where you remain connected to the rhythm of heaven, and where you will never be left wandering without guidance. Finally, let your own voice, even just a few words, join this testimony. In the comments, write, silence crowns me, not because it is demanded of you, but because it is your declaration, your banner, your seal. Each time you write it, you fasten another jewel into the unseen crown that heaven has prepared for you. So leave not in silence alone, but with action that flows from your heart. Let your like be worship, your share be light, your subscribe be connection, and your comment be covenant. And walk forward, knowing you are chosen, you are crowned, and you are never forgotten.